Happy Monday! Welcome to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast, AEW Dynasty review. It's in the books. There's lots of chatter online about it. So I guess we better get into it, better we? Lots of stuff happened. Let's just quickly side note a couple of injuries on the AEW front. Orange Cassidy, torn pectoral muscle, so that we hear. Mark Davis is out again, unfortunately, as is, and we say the word again, and unfortunately, Jay White. Three quite bad injuries for AEW there. Uh, we wish him all well. Look, Orange Cassidy seems to probably be the longest one. Not sure, but I think Jay White was a hand injury, I want to say. Mark Briscoe, I don't know. Jay White was going to go and get surgery. Look, all we know is we hope that they get better soon. And look, they seem to come in threes of AEW. They seem to get a lot of injuries in one go, and it kind of derails a lot of stuff that happens. We know that Jay White was heavily involved in the Copeland Death Rider stuff. Orange Cassidy is always there and thereabouts doing something. Mark Davis had just come back. He had just kind of sided with the Don Callis family, but also there was kind of a face turn maybe coming up. So, yeah, all stuff happening at kind of the wrong time. But like I said, we wish them well. Now, just quickly, we're going to hit through the pre-show on this. Nick Wayne with the CRU, which was Action Andretti and Leah Rush. They obviously had Kip Sabian and Mother Wayne at ringside. They beat AR Fox and Top Flight, who were with Layla Gray by pinfall in a trios match. Nothing much to really add to that one, really. Good to see AR Fox back. I know he's been on recently. He's a great talent, and this is kind of a reoccurring thing. So much talent on a roster. Where do you fit him in to keep him happy? That's Tony Khan's problem. He's doing a good job of it, but it is just like you've got such stacked members of a roster that are really, really good, and it's how you give them some TV time. I will say on this, I felt that two pre-show matches was perfect, to be honest. Because considering what we had come in, well, say two pre-show matches, like one and the third, and we'll get into the third in a minute. But yeah, much better. Normally he's pre-show heavy. You get three or four matches sometimes on an AEW pre-show. So thankfully was just the one and a quarter, which brings me to the quarter. The Max Caster Open Challenge match, which obviously we didn't know who it was going to be against. There was lots of rumors online. Oh, it's going to be not Hammerstone. It was going to be Josh Alexander. Or the other one was going to be Anthony Bowens, and is actually the latter. It was Anthony Bowens, excuse me, that beat Max Caster in about 40 seconds, which kind of goes along with every other open challenge that Max Caster has had. I don't know what the end result is with this. When it comes to Anthony Bowens and his open challenges, what is the end goal, so to speak, with that particular, um, you know, where do we go with it? What do we do with Max and that? Anthony Bowens, good to see him back. Good new theme. Again, people were kind of giving Max Caster that he was going to be the breakout of the two teams when they split up. Caster, he had the mic skills, we know that. He's always a better heel than a face, we know that. But it was interesting, Anthony Bowens came out winning so quickly. Now it's going to be key and pivotal to what happens to these two going forward. Billy Gunn, obviously, with Anthony Bowens on this occasion. I'm just interested to see where they go with both of these two guys now. Is it going to go into a lengthier feud? Is Max Caster going to have better longer matches? Is he going to do some more open challenges and get defeated really easily? We don't know. But we will know very, very soon, and perhaps as early as this coming Wednesday on Dynamite. Keep your eyes peeled. That is for certain. Right, on to the main card. And wow, the Owen kicked off AEW Dynamite, the Owen Hart tournament, cup tournament, should I say. Will Ospreay defeating Kevin Knight by pinfall in just under 15 minutes. Man, what a way to start the show. Start the pay-per-view hot. They done that. There's not many better to start a pay-per-view than Will Ospreay. Apologies for my constant frog in throat scenario. Look, Will Ospreay, you know what you're going to get with him. There, there's never a match that you sit there and go, "Well, that was bad," with Will Ospreay. And what I will say is that for those of you that didn't know who Kevin Knight was, you do now. He was a tremendous match, really. In terms of the result, I didn't think the result was ever going to be in any question. I always thought Will Ospreay had this match won. It was just a matter of how and when. But Kevin Knight, absolute brilliant showing in this match, and obviously Ospreay probably one of the favourites for the Owen. We'll kind of touch on that a bit more when we get to the main event. But yeah, Ospreay very much a favourite for this tournament. There's a couple of other people in there that may have a say, but right now, just because of the way that they've positioned it and the way it's going on. I mean, he was looking up at the all-in sign thing at the end of his match, and the camera sort of had it back to him, so he was, you could see what he was doing. That's probably kind of alluding you to where they probably are going. I'm going to give you things where I hope they don't, and I'll tell you for that in a minute. But a great opening contest. Will Ospreay picking up the victory and moving on to the next round of the Owen Hart match. That was a quarterfinal match, obviously. Moving on to the semi-final of the Owen Hart tournament. You would assume that he would at least get to the final, put it that way. Anyway, World Tag Team Championships on the line next. The Hurt Syndicate of Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, obviously with MVP, took on the Learning Tree. Only Big Bill and Brian Keith. Chris Jericho in action a bit later on. There was another three letters that got involved in this. MJF. He was kind of at front row. He did sucker punch Big Bill to assist the Hurt Syndicate in picking up the win. And I've been hearing a bit on here like, oh, the Hurt Syndicate don't, it was poor thing because the Hurt Syndicate doesn't need MJF to win the match. They should have won it comfortably. They should have won it earlier, blah, blah, blah. Look, we don't know where they're going with the Hurt Syndicate and MJF yet. That's the one thing. Second thing was MJF's been trying to get into the Hurt Syndicate. So he was going to have to prove his worth at some point. Do I think that the Learning Tree were ever going to win this match regardless of MJF's help? Absolutely not. Tony Khan has booked the Hurt Syndicate perfectly so far. This match, to be honest, I expected MJF to get involved to prove the worth to the likes of Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, which he did do. I expected the Hurt Syndicate to win, which they did. So I could the match have been shorter? Yes, I get, we all know what the Hurt Syndicate are like. They hurt people. The crowd they're massively over. Absolutely massively over are the Hurt Syndicate. The fans love them. This is the kind of problem they had in the WWE. The WWE wanted them to be heels. The fans loved them, so they wasn't heels. This is exactly the problem they got in AEW is exactly the same. But AEW are kind of embracing it more. That's what they're doing a lot more. They're embracing the fact that they're getting, the face, and they're actually kind of they I would say they're tweeners, right? They could twist it and they could turn quick. I just don't think they will do that with AEW right now because it's working. The added bit of MJF gives you a bit of intrigue as to whether or not he's going to be in it. Will they turn full heel then? Are they going to dismantle him? What's going to happen? There's your intrigue, So, once again, good booking, right winner, without a doubt. MJF bit was nice, had to prove his way in. Get that. Well done to AEW again for another great match and great booking. Women's Owen Hart Cup match was next. My favourite woman, Mercedes Moné, against Julia Hart. Now, this was great. I felt like, again, and I bet humble pie before. with Mercedes. 13 minutes or so, the match length. I felt the match length was perfect. I felt Julia Hart come out of it as looking like a star again. She was anyway. She's got the entrance, she's got the ability. She's still very, very young, you know. She's got a lot of things going for her. I felt that this was a real good match for her because even in defeat, Mercedes Moné did pick up the victory by pinfall in this one over Julia Hart. I felt that, excuse me again, I really apologize for that. I feel like if anything, Julia Hart come out stronger than Mercedes Moné in this. But Mercedes Moné put on a great match. You know, there's no doubt about it. I like the fact it was only 13 minutes or so long. I thought that was perfect. Everything about it was great with this. I feel that Mercedes is going to get maybe, I don't know if Anfina's in her side of the group. We'll have to have a look again. Apologies for that. I do feel like they're on a collision course though, Anfina and Mercedes, who's coincidentally also in a collision course with Kanji over here. I think this weekend even. High stakes. Revolution Pro Wrestling. She's going to make her first defense of a championship that she won in January. Yeah. Anyway, let's focus on the positive. That match was great. Perfect match. As Julia Hart come out looking like a star even in defeat. But Mercedes Moné moves on to the semi-finals of the Owen. Now comes the first predictable heel turn. Not the first, because maybe. We was expecting it. And it happened. The Death Riders defending and successfully defending the Trios World Championships. Claudio Castagnoli, Pac Wheeler Yuta against rated FTR, Cope and FTR, Dax and Cash. Jesus. Miscommunication in this. Cope hitting Dax, or no, accidentally hitting the heads with Dax as he was pushed. Busaido knee from Wheeler Yuta. Now, what I would say about it is, you are getting the pinfall victory. It's normally when they lose, Yuta eats the pinfall. So it's good that he's picking up a few wins. I would say that is probably the most important thing about this match, other than the subsequential heel turn, which we'll get to, and what could happen, and what perhaps we're moving towards in a second. In general, like I said, match was decent. It wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't that bad either. You know, it was, I'd say, a good but not great match. They probably had better. All of them have had better. But nevertheless, this match was more about what we was expecting to happen and what did happen than the match, if that makes sense. Maybe the story was more important. And as you know, the ones that have watched AEW will know that FTR and Cope have been, mainly Dax and Cope have been a little bit here and there. Cash had been kind of in between these two. Well, Dax exploded on Copeland. He ends up getting a chair out on him, goes to put him in a concerto, gives it to Cash, who decides not to give him a concerto, moves the chairs away, picks Cope up, and then both hit the shatter machine on Cope, and then hit him with a concerto. Thus, fully fledged heel turn from FTR. We was expecting it. It happened. It happened in a real good way, because they had been teasing Dax turning heel and Cash not. I think everyone was smart enough to know it was both of them going to happen, but they've been teasing it in the right way. It finally happened, and it was really, really good. Now, what happens from here? Well, here's my prediction. All in August over in Texas. Which, by the way, and I think me and Gary Joe spoke about this before, for us Brits is on at a lovely time of around 7-8 o'clock. So thank you, Tony. Thanks for that. Obviously, it was in conjunction with Saturday night's main event, so they wanted to make sure that people could watch both. So fantastic, brilliant for us anyway over here. And look, the US get to watch a pay-per-view in the afternoon. Win-win, right? But anyway, my prediction will be that FTR will be going against Copeland and Christian Cage. I think they're going to reunite Cope and Christian, or Edge and Christian as we love him as, and they're going to go against the Death Rider. No, they're not going to go against the Death Riders. They're going to go against FTR at All In. There is my prediction. I think that's where we're heading. At least I hope that's where we're heading, because it would be a fantastic match if we do. And it'd be a match that definitely all four men will definitely want it, for sure. There's no doubt in my mind that that will be one that they would all want to have on the biggest AEW stage of them all in Texas. Watch this space. AEW Women's World Championship, Tony Storm, Megan Bayne. I was intrigued by this because whoever won, it was probably going to be the wrong call at this specific time. I think to do this match now was probably not right. I think this match should have been all in, and the victory should not have gone to Tony Storm. So Tony Storm picked up the victory in this match. Penelope Ford did get involved. She got picked up and taken back by the by Luther. Tony Storm got the win with a roll up. So that's one thing to make sure. Megan Bayne didn't look bad in this by any stretch of the imagination, right? But here's my theory, sorry, on this, or what I think really. This match was the wrong match to have. My belief is that Penelope Ford should have perhaps come out and maybe hit Tony Storm with a chair. You know, when Tony Storm had just beat Mariah May, she come out on Dynamite. She was saying, right, who's next? You know, what challenger is next? Megan Bayne come out and basically decimated her. I would have had Penelope Ford come out and batter her with a chair and set up this match so that Tony Storm retains the championship and moves on further to probably All In. Obviously, Forbidden Door as well is coming up, and a couple of there'll be another pay per view in between that. But I just felt that Megan Bayne, Tony Storm won. I mean, it was like a Rocky Balboa match anyway. Even Tony Storm come out, even I'm saying kind of dressed like Rocky Balboa, but they're two different sexes. But you get the gist. This match was like a Rocky Balboa. She got battered for the majority of it. She come back and won, albeit with a roll up. But for me, I think that she was never going to drop the title this close of winning it. And that's another reason why I think the match was wrong. The wrong time. Right match, wrong time, basically. My belief was that it should have happened at All In. Megan Bayne should have picked up the win and then gone on like a crusade of. I don't think she should have lost. And then I think Megan Bayne should have had like a year-long reign as champion. That's where I would have gone with it. So to have this match now, I would have even gone as far, and I understand probably why they're not, but I would have gone as far as maybe having Megan Bayne win the Owen and then gone on to face Tony Storm at All In, which is perhaps where I see Mercedes Moné winning, losing the championship that she's got, and perhaps winning the Owen and going on to face Tony Storm at All In. I hope not, but that's where I think. But how I would have booked it was totally different. Like I just said, I would have had it where Tony Storm beat Penelope Ford at Dynasty. She had a title for another couple of months, lost it to Megan Bayne, and then Megan Bayne goes on like a year-long crusade and wins and carries on winning. And then the next person, maybe Athena or someone like that, that Tony Storm wanted to put, that Tony Khan wanted to push, would have been ready. But there you go. It didn't. She beat Megan Bayne. And the match was good, but I just think it was right match, wrong time. Another quarter-final match of the Owen, the men's this time. Carl Fletcher and Mark Briscoe. Jesus Christ. I tell you what, right? I thought this was just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Both of these men are just a delight to watch in the ring. They have such great chemistry together. It made for a brilliant match. The only thing it's not a criticism at all, but I just think that Mark Briscoe constantly losing the big one. I know he's been Ring of Honor World Champion and he has picked up victories, and don't get me wrong. I just don't like the fact he's not winning enough. And I know that's difficult when you've got this roster and everything like that. I get it. I understand it. But I just wish he would win more big matches, because it feels like every time he's in a big match, he loses. This one was no different. Carl Fletcher did indeed pick up the victory in this match by a pinfall and moves on to the semi-finals of the Owen. You could even argue the point here because the main card had 8 matches on it, 2 pre-shows, a 12 match show. You could even argue that this match, the next 3 matches, including the one I've just given you, could have perhaps gone on Dynamite. I'm not, listen, I'm all for great wrestling. I'm all for 4 hours. But I am a fan of less is more. And I think that you could have had the match I've just said, Cole Fletcher and Mark Briscoe, and the next 2 matches that I'm going to tell you about, Bandito, Chris Jericho, Adam Cole, Garcia. You could have had all 3 of them on Dynamite and given the other matches on this longer. I'm picking hairs at what was a great pay-per-view, by the way, and I'm not slating that they gave you. I just think that I would prefer 6. I'm a big fan of 5 to 6 show matches. Maybe it's my attention span thing, but I watching the pre-show, although it wasn't much of a pre-show, I grant you, I was just zoning in and out too much, and I think it's because there was just too many matches. Again, it's not a criticism; it's just my personal opinion. I just feel too many matches on the card on this. But yes, Cole Fletcher picks up the win. Impressive. These two knocked it out of the park. I would love to see Briscoe pick up some more big wins, but the right person definitely won. And Carl Fletcher moves on to the semi-finals of the Owen. I think he's on the opposite end to Ospreay, so if they did meet, it would be in the final. Now we move to the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship match. Bandito puts his mask on the line against Chris Jericho, who puts his title on the line. Bandito did have his mask ripped off once by Jericho. Again, if you've been watching, and generally Mask v title generally goes, 95% of the time goes one way, and it goes to the man that's putting his mask on the line. They did, however, do a great dusty finish where Jericho hits him with the bat, picks up the victory. Bandito's family at ringside, take to Warbury. That was the bit that I kind of felt lost here because I get it. Bandito got his mask on the line. I get it. His family are there. But for his family to convince the referee to restart the match, that kind of says, well, any fan could come and do that. There was the bit that if someone like Tony Khan had come out or someone said, look, no, we're not having it like this. We're restarting the match. This is why. I could understand it. The importance of the mask, right? It was, if you're a Mexican wrestler, whatever, you don't want to lose that mask. I get it. There's a sacred thing about it. So to have his family say to the referee, well, he hit him with the bat, he hit him with the bat. No, that doesn't work for me. If Tony Khan had come out and said, look, this match was paramount importance, I cannot have the referee call that match, the end of that match, because of this. We need to restart. I know that Tony isn't necessarily an on-screen character too much. I know he's been on screen a couple of times. But I feel as if it's a when necessary thing. And for me, it was necessary that Tony Khan would have come out and said, nope, we got to restart this match. The importance of the mask. That's what I was getting to. Bandito does indeed end up picking up the victory against Chris Jericho and thus winning the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship. So congratulations to Bandito. I just think the ending wasn't quite right for me. Didn't quite sit well for me, personally, anyway. And again, could have been a match that was put on Dynamite instead of stacking a pay-per-view. But splitting hairs, says the bald man, right? Adam Cole, Daniel Garcia, TNT Championship was next. Adam Cole hasn't won a singles championship in about 3 years. This match had no time limit and had no outside interference. It was strictly prohibited. It was just a great wrestling match between two great wrestlers. I've been a bit underwhelmed with Daniel Garcia's run as TNT champion. I don't think the focus has really been on him enough. I feel like there has been obviously Moxley and the Cope and the Pete things like that was kind of overshadowing Daniel Garcia in this. So I do feel a bit sorry for Garcia because I feel as if you know there should have been more focus. He is a champion after all, you know. And I just felt that he was kind of lost more on Collision than anything else, to be fair. Um, yeah, but I do kind of feel like, he had kind of been forgotten about a little bit. This match with Adam Cole was more about Daniel Garcia just proving who he is. Now, having said that, Adam Cole did indeed pick up the victory to become the new TNT Championship, thus winning his first championship in about 3 years, singles championship, that is, in about 3 years. I probably felt that that was the right call, considering the run from Daniel Garcia has been underwhelming, but that's not been Daniel Garcia's fault. I do think there wasn't enough emphasis, sorry, on his run as champion, and perhaps they were maybe doing one or two too many segments involving the Death Riders when they could have focused on Garcia's reign a little bit more. So that's a shame, but the right man won. Congratulations to Adam Cole, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens now. Adam Cole is the TNT champion. Speaking of championships, the International Championship was on the line. Kenny Omega versus Speedball Mike Bailey versus Ricochet. And I tell you, when I just say those three names, you just know. You don't even need me to go there. The best bout machine. Ricochet's been on a great run since turning heel. Speedball Mike Bailey, the new guy in this. It was absolutely magical. Magical is the only word I can describe this match. It was brilliant, absolutely fantastic. For half an hour, 31 minutes or so this match went on for. And I tell you what, I could have watched another 31 minutes of it. It was brilliant. The fact that it was Omega's first or second defense of the championship, you kind of knew that the match was he was gonna win. It probably wouldn't have been you know, right for him to lose that match. So the fact that he won was perfect. The match itself was great. Ricochet and Speedball Bailey didn't look bad in defeat either. They actually was perfectly done for both of these. They didn't look too bad in defeat. I felt like, because it wasn't ready for the other ones to win, right? It wasn't ready for Kenny to lose that championship match yet anyway. But what a great match. And even more so, the aftermath with Okada coming out. Are we going to be seeing Omega and Okada very, very soon? Perhaps even to put the belts together. To put to put the Continental belt and the International belt together, unify it. Are we going to see that? I don't know. But wow, what a great match and what a great ending with Okada coming out, kind of setting his target now on Kenny Omega. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the main event of the show, Moxley against Swerve. Let's face, look, there's a lot of negative stuff about the Death Riders, and I get it. I really do. I understand why there would be. Um, because I've been kind of critical of it as well. I've not been now I say that actually. I say I've not been interested in it since it kind of died down that there was an ulterior motive, that there was someone behind the Death Riders, and we didn't really get to see it. But now, on the other hand, I may have just totally because we now know. So this match was great. Hangman Page comes out and helps Swerve in this, by the way. Death Rider's trying to interfere. It had the usual shit that you know is going to happen. That you knew the Death Riders were going to come out. You kind of knew they were hinting at Adam Page. Now, my prediction was that he was going to inadvertently cost Swerve the championship. He was going to go to hit Moxley and he was going to hit Swerve, and because they had their little bit on Dynamite where Swerve was like, when Adam Page was like, you broke into my house. And then Swerve was like, you burnt my house. And Adam Page was like, you deserved it. And he was like, I know. and you kind of like got the idea. And that's when I thought he was going to inadvertently cost Swerve the match. But he didn't. He actually come out. He got rid of some of the Death Riders. Swerve looked to have the match won. Lights go off. Lights on. The Young Bucks appeared on the stage, or they were in the ring, shall I say. They hit the BTE trigger, whatever you want to call it, on Swerve, thus giving the victory to Moxley. Now, there was a load of things about this, and I want to give a shout out to my boy, well, my boys, they're my crew at Cruising with Kayfabe. They laid this out perfectly. See, there was a fade takeover, right? At one point. Now, the Young Bucks got scared. They shredded documents. They wiped their phones. They let left others behind. And then when the Death Riders got the power, they bowed. They fled to Japan. 6 months later, they're back. No explanation. Just taking out Swerve, basically implying the Bucks were the ones pulling the strings for the Death Riders all along. Now, don't forget, Mox said this is bigger than AEW and you have no idea what's going on. Well, very, very true when you think about it. And there's a lot of people that didn't like. I, for one, look, I thought Swerve was going to. I said that. My prediction was Hangman Adam Page was going to cost Swerve the championship. But I kind of thought Swerve may have won this. Hangman Page may have won the Owen, and we go to All In at the races with those two. Now I think we're going to go to All In, the Young Bucks versus Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. That's my prediction to this. But if you're a subscriber or you follow Cruising with Kayfabe, they lay all this out for you. And the thing is, AEW gets a lot of shit for no stories in wrestling. They laid out nearly a year-long storyline here, and they've been shit on because Moxley won the title. But think about things. Honestly, people need to like get a grip. You can't have it both ways in this, right? You cannot have it both ways. You can't have them to have long-term storylines and then shit on it because your person that you wanted to win lost. Doesn't work like that. It was great storytelling because it now makes sense. The Young Bucks were in control all along. Or are they? We don't know. That's why you've got to tune into Dynamite this week to find out more. That's storytelling, folks. As Brock Lesnar would say, grow up, kid, or get a life, kid, or whatever he said. I can't even remember, and there's me trying to tell you what to do. But look, bottom line is, it was great storytelling from AEW. Simple as that. If you don't like it, don't watch. But seriously, don't criticize them for not telling stories and then criticize them for telling stories because your man didn't win. God. Anyway, I digress. Great. Listen, AEW always pull out the stops on pay-per-views. It was another great pay-per-view, was Dynasty. We're moving on to some big things on AEW. Lots of things going on. This week on Dynamite, I'm sure we'll have the fallout from Dynasty. We'll have the Owen as well. So keep an eye on AEW this coming week. That's for sure. Big thank you now to Leon Slater and the guys at TNA for the interview last week. That has dropped on the channel. Check on the special guest interviews playlist. We will be back tomorrow with Monday Night Raw, and we'll also be back with some NWA as well with me and the wonderful Miss Fiona Lochran. But please, please, please subscribe to us at HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on all other social media platforms. And until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and stay elite, everybody.